What's up guys, welcome to today's video. It's actually Sunday morning for me right now, almost Sunday afternoon. It's 11:45 and I'm gonna have a quick turnaround on this video. Hopefully this will be uploaded later this afternoon for you guys. Today's video is going to be behind the desk though. I'm going to update you guys on the Mesa flip later on this week. Hopefully it's almost done. It looks absolutely incredible. We just have the final touches. All the main contractors are done now, so it's just getting my handyman in there for the final touches, touching things up before we go in and take pictures, and then obviously we're gonna list it. Today's video is actually inspired by a young kid's message to me on Instagram. This was late last night where I was actually about to grab my camera around midnight and film the video then, but I decided to go to bed, wake up, and film it now. I just got done with the gym, so I figured this would be a good time to film this video. So when I was responding to this message last night, it made me realize that I wish I would have had some guidance when I was his age. So I'm hoping with this video that a lot of this younger generation will able to have a little bit of guidance or at least a little bit of motivation hearing my thoughts on this question that he has right here. And that question is, good morning, Nick. I hope you're having a blessed day so far. I'm 17 years old from Mesa, Arizona, turning 18 next month, and I have plans on getting into the stock market and becoming a real estate agent. My father supports me and said he would help me get started. I have a job at Quick Trip, which is a local gas station here in Arizona, and I get paid around $23,000 a year. Right now, I'm only a clerk and I haven't gotten a raise yet. My question is, I wanted to get into my own house by the time I'm 22 years old or maybe 20. I was wondering what I need to do to get into a house in Arizona. So this is a very good question. I'm actually gonna read my response because I think that'll be a good way to start this video. I said, "That's awesome. Love your mindset at such a young age. Save up as much of that $23,000 a year as possible. Make sure you have 2 years of tax returns to prove that $23,000 yearly income. If you have a big enough down payment, you can purchase a property in the low 200s in some parts of Arizona. You won't be able to get one that needs a lot of work because banks won't loan you the money for fixer-uppers usually, but you can do an FHA loan with as little as 3% down, live in it, and rent the other rooms to your friends." So that's exactly what I wish someone would have told me when I was his age. For those of you guys that don't know, I grew up modeling. When I was about 15 years old, I started modeling and I was working a decent amount. I was still living at home, so every single dollar I made, I was saving it. I didn't have a car payment. My car was all paid off. The only thing I really had to pay for was gas, insurance, and my phone bill. My groceries, my rent was obviously, that was all taken care of by my parents, luckily. Because I had such low monthly payments out of my bank account, I only really had maybe a couple $100s each and every month that was coming out of my account. And since I was making a decent amount of money, at about 18, 19, and 20 years old, I believe I had around $30,000 to $35,000 saved up. Now, little did I know that that was plenty enough to buy a property. I had no sort of knowledge on real estate, so I thought in my head, oh, I'm way too young. No one's ever gonna be able to qualify me. And I thought that, like, for some reason that I had to have an insane amount of down payment on a property. In my head, when I was younger, I was like, this is a $200,000 house. I definitely need like $75,000, $80,000 down payment, but that's just not the case whatsoever. In one of my previous videos, I talked about these sort of loans. The FHA, the VA, and then the USDA loans are government-backed loans that want people to qualify to allow them to get into houses. So for that reason, they have really low down payments and they're a little bit more flexible than the conventional loan, but that's kind of besides the point on this video. I guess my point is, you don't need that much money in order to get yourself into a house. Now, I'm 26 years old now, and when I was 20 years old, that would have been around 2014. Real estate prices were slowly starting to come up after the crash, but if I had purchased a property in 2014 with my $30,000 to $35,000 that I had, and I ended up renting that out, I could have lived there and rented it out to my friends and had my mortgage paid for, or I could have rented the entire house out to a family and lived at my parents' house still because I was so young. That property would have appreciated so much in the last 6 years, it would have been insane. But not only that, I would have had way more knowledge of the whole real estate game. I would have had cash flow. I would have had about 6 years of my mortgage being paid down, which is an insane amount of money as well, which means I would have more built-in equity into the property on top of the appreciation. It would have been a great place to put my money rather than just have it sit in my bank account, which it did. I was a little bit in the stock market. I didn't day trade or anything like that, but my dad was big in the stock market and in my retirement account, so I did have an IRA, and I did put a little bit of money in there each and every year, but I just wish I would have put that $25,000 to $35,000 that I had into a down payment on a property, rented it out, and focused on that passive income. So to bring everything that I just said into this specific example of Gio, I think his name is, he has a job at Quick Trip, incredible. He has a $23,000 a year salary. Now, if he's still living at home like he made it sound like with his dad supporting him, he could save up as much of that $23,000 as possible, and within the next 3 to 4 years, guys, he would have plenty of money to put as a down payment on a property. And that's if he had the consistent income of $23,000 a year. If you're working at a place for that long though, you're most likely hopefully going to get a raise. And I'm just basing this whole thing off his $23,000 income. It's gonna look really good to the lenders because he's either gonna have a steady income or it's gonna be even better if he has an increasing income. Now, one thing lenders don't like to see, and it's gonna be harder for you to qualify for it, is if you have an income that is decreasing. If you made $80,000 one year and then the next year you have $70,000, they're most likely gonna have that $70,000 year as an average of the 2 years. So they're not gonna be able to use that $80,000 that you made 2 years ago. They're gonna average down and use that $70,000 income because it's a decreasing income. Whenever you're trying to get a loan, you either want a steady income where you make $70,000 for 2 years, or you have an increasing income. You make $70,000 the first year, and then the next year you make $80,000. That looks really good for the loan. But for this case, let's just say for the next 4 years, he saves up as much as possible. He has a good income history, a 2-year tax return. He has low debt to income ratio because he's living at home with no expenses. He could easily qualify for a property. And this is just something that I wish someone would have told me when I was younger. Now, for someone that isn't living at home and you're trying to buy your first property, you can do something called house hacking, which is great. And a lot of people do this. My business partner and my good friend Ricky actually did this for his first property. He purchased his first property when he was 20 or 21 years old. And what he did is he bought a house, he lived in one room, and then he rented the other rooms to other students at his college or a couple of his friends. And because he rented those rooms out, they were able to pay down his mortgage. So he was basically living for rent free. And at 20 years old, 21 years old, when you're strapped on cash, that's like the best case scenario. They're buying down your mortgage, they're paying you each and every month to live there, and you're living rent free. And sometimes you may even be able to get enough rent to where you can actually cash flow $100-200 a month. So that is a great way if you guys are looking to get into your first home but you don't want to take the whole mortgage payment out on your own. I would rent some rooms out. You can go rent rooms to, maybe you're younger and you're still in college, rent them out to college students, or maybe you have a coworker that's looking for a place. That's a great way, and that's my suggestion if you're trying to buy a house but you don't want to have that whole mortgage payment taken care of by you. Rent out the other rooms, house hack it in a sense, and then when you're ready to move out on your own, move out, rent that other room that you have, that you were living in, and then go do that same thing on another house, and you can keep doing that. Granted, this works a lot better when you're younger, when you're in your 20s, when you want roommates, but you can still do this. The same principles apply maybe when you're in your 30s. You may have a family, but you may be able to rent it out to another family member. You may have another mature roommate that you want to rent it out to. You can totally house hack with a family, but it is going to be a little bit more difficult, but the same principles do apply. I don't know how confusing this video is. I tried to make it as concise as possible, guys, but I guess my point is you don't have to have a huge down payment. If you are younger and you do have money saved up and you have a steady income and you have good tax returns, you can qualify for a house for as little as 3% down. I don't know what the current markets are or the current housing prices are in different states, but let's say you get a house here, $300,000 in Arizona, which is a really good house. If you put down 3% on that, that's only $9,000. Now, it may seem like a lot, but for example, with Gio right here, where he's planning ahead, he's planning 3 to 4 years ahead, that's only about $1,500 to $2,000 a year that you have to save up in order to get enough for a down payment on a property. You can have a co-signer as well. You can have, maybe you have a girlfriend or a husband or a wife that you're gonna split that down payment with. There's so many things that you can do. So make sure you really open your mind, and I'm happy to help you guys. If you guys do ever have any questions with this, just because I can see now that I'm a little bit older, now that I have some rental properties, I'm like, wow, I wish I would have done this a couple years ago, or at least bought one property a couple years ago and let it appreciate. I do apologize, I was actually editing the video and the second clip after my camera died did not save, so I'm gonna end the video right here. Like I said, if you guys do have any questions, you guys can always message me on Instagram, or if you guys are ever looking for an investment property here in the Arizona area, I do specialize in investment cash flow producing properties, but I also work with families as well. If you guys are interested, I'd love to represent you. Link will be in the description for that. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm super excited to give you guys an update and the final walkthrough on the Mesa flip in the next couple days here.